female corrections officers having sex with inmate.
I found nearly 24 cases where an inmate had inappropriate sexual relationships with an employee in a 4-year period.
When officers break the rules, it often goes unnoticed until it's too late. Just like the shocking case of a guard who was caught on camera getting too close to an inmate, while another cop took advantage of several prisoners, only for them to turn on him and set him up. What causes these officers to cross the line? And what happens when their actions are finally exposed? In this gripping episode, we are revealing the cops who got too close to inmates. Gemma Cowperthwaite. Gemma Cowperthwaite never thought her career as a correctional officer would land her in prison, but a reckless relationship with an inmate turned her life upside down. Gemma's life completely flipped when she found herself on the other side of the bars. She was working as a correctional officer, but now she's behind bars for a crime she wishes she could take back. In an interview, Gemma opened up about the mistake that changed everything. She admitted that she got caught up in something she never should have, and now her life is a mess. Gemma used to be a model officer at the Sinclair County Sheriff's Office, but things took a turn when a young inmate caught her eye. She remembered meeting the inmate the year before, and that's when things started to go wrong. Her story is part of a bigger problem, with other officers also crossing the line with inmates. Gemma mentioned how this wasn't an isolated case, comparing her situation to others, like Joyce Mitchell, who helped 2 prisoners escape, and Richard, who was caught having a sexual relationship with an inmate. She pointed out that these kinds of things happen more often than people realize. Gemma explained how the inmate started calling her and asking for favors. She admitted that she drove the inmate to work and let her use her house to shower during lunch breaks, thinking she was just being helpful. But looking back, she saw how wrong that was. She knew now that what she did was an abuse of power, and the law saw it as a big breach of trust. Facing the possibility of a longer sentence, Gemma decided to take a plea deal. She couldn't handle the thought of being in solitary confinement for 2 to 4 years, so she took the 10-month sentence, thinking it was the best option. When the judge sentenced her, he said she had betrayed the trust of the sheriff, the court, and her victim. Gemma took full responsibility for crossing the line, but didn't agree with the idea that she betrayed the victim. She argued that it was the inmate who had reached out to her first and manipulated her. Gemma now believed that the inmate wasn't looking for a real relationship, but was just using her for favors. She felt like she had been played, and in hindsight, could see how her actions had been taken advantage of. Sheriff Benny Napoleon, who oversees the jail where Gemma is now, said this case was a reminder that inmates can manipulate people in positions of authority. He warned that prisoners are good at conning people and that officers should always be on guard. Gemma hoped her story would help others avoid making the same mistake. She urged anyone in a similar situation to just walk away. She made it clear that it wasn't worth it. 5 months in prison and the lifelong consequences of being labeled a sex offender were things she'd never imagined. But Gemma's story isn't the only one like this. Another shocking case shows the serious consequences of forbidden love. Vicky White, a trusted prison guard, a convicted murderer, and a forbidden romance. Vicky White made a decision that led to an escape, a chase, and a tragic ending. Vicky, a respected prison guard in Lauderdale County, Alabama, appeared to lead a normal, hard-working life. But in April 2022, she stunned everyone when she helped convicted murderer Casey White escape from prison. What many didn't know was that Vicky had been secretly involved with Casey. exchanging calls and texts with him while he was behind bars. On April 29, 2022, Vicky's sudden disappearance sparked a nationwide search. As authorities investigated, it quickly became clear that Vicky had played a crucial role in Casey's escape, even helping him flee in a stolen police car. However, their freedom was short-lived. Police spotted them trying to flee the state, triggering a high-speed car chase. In a final attempt to evade capture, Vicky crashed the car into a tree, injuring Casey and tragically ending her own life before law enforcement could stop them. This event raised questions about Vicky's judgment and why she was drawn to someone like Casey, a convicted murderer. Despite being known for her reliability and hard work, her involvement with an inmate left many in disbelief. This attraction to dangerous individuals is known as hybristophilia, or bad boy syndrome, where some people form romantic attachments to criminals. Criminologist Dr. Casey Jordan suggested that Vicky's relationship with Casey might have been driven by a need for excitement and adventure that was missing from her routine life. In the end, Casey White was captured and returned to prison, where he would remain for the rest of his life. As the case of Vicky White illustrates, the consequences of such relationships can be devastating. But she's not the only one who has crossed the line. This time, they were caught on camera. Shanah Beum. What seemed like a harmless flirtation quickly turned into a full-blown scandal when hidden cameras captured an illicit relationship between a prison officer and an inmate. Shanah Beum, a 25-year-old officer at HMP Birmingham, found herself at the center of a scandal that shattered the trust placed in her and exposed serious flaws in the prison's security. Shanah was caught having an affair with an inmate, crossing a line that should have been clear, especially in a setting where discipline and control are crucial. The relationship between Shanah and Joshua Mullings, an inmate at the facility, remained secret for months. It wasn't until suspicions were raised at Winson Green Jail that a covert surveillance operation was put in place. A hidden camera in a store cupboard eventually revealed intimate moments between Shanah and Mullings, showing how their flirtation had escalated to sexual encounters. Things took a further downward spiral when it became apparent that Shanah was neglecting her professional duties. She completely ignored her work radio for over an hour, even as a colleague searched the facility looking for her. The disregard for her responsibilities was clear, and the situation only got worse when the surveillance footage from the store cupboard was reviewed. It was revealed in court that Shanah and Mullings had been involved since 2018. The footage captured in late September of 2022 showed sexual activity taking place while Shanah was supposed to be on duty. Despite the secrecy, their relationship was no longer hidden, and it was clear that the connection had become more than just a fleeting affair. During the trial, the prosecution laid out the details of how Shanah and Mullings would secretly meet, exchange flirtatious messages, and meet up for more serious encounters. Shanah's defense team argued that she had been vulnerable and lonely, and that Mullings had manipulated her into the affair. However, the judge, known for his no-nonsense approach, wasn't swayed by the defense's argument. He had seen similar cases before and recognized that this wasn't simply a momentary lapse in judgment, but a clear breach of professional ethics. As the trial came to a close, her defense team made one final plea for leniency. They spoke of her difficult upbringing, her years of dedicated service as a prison officer, and her sincere remorse for her actions. But despite the emotional appeal, the judge made it clear that her actions could not go unpunished. He sentenced Shanah to 16 months in prison, a decision that left no doubt that such a betrayal of trust, especially in her position, would have serious consequences. As disturbing as Shanah's actions were, they were not the only breach of trust to rock the prison system. Another officer made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Murder-charged inmates escape with inside help from guard. Imagine a prison guard assisting an inmate in escaping. What could drive a guard to betray their duties and break the law? This story involves Sarah, a woman convicted of double murder who uses her charm and seduction to manipulate a prison guard into helping her escape. Sarah wasn't just waiting in her cell to serve time. She had a plan. She formed a relationship with Scott Spittler, a guard at Rockville Correctional Facility. What started as a simple friendship quickly became a passionate affair, and Sarah used her allure to get Spittler to trust her completely. She promised him rewards, both sexual and financial, and pulled him deeper into her web. When she finally made her move, she was ready. On the day of the escape, she slipped out of her prison uniform and into civilian clothes, symbolizing her shift from prisoner to someone free. With Spittler refueling the transport van, Sarah seized the moment, and within minutes, they were gone. The escape left behind a trail of scandal and shame. Sarah became one of America's most wanted women, and Spittler was arrested, facing 7 years behind bars. This daring escape revealed serious flaws in prison security and showed just how strong manipulation can be. It's a story of charm, lies, and control. If you think Sarah's story is surprising, wait until you hear the next one, where manipulating behind bars goes even further. Gregory Rodriguez, California prison guard, faces life sentence over inmate abuse scandal. Gregory Rodriguez, a 54-year-old former prison guard, is facing a total of 96 charges for allegedly exploiting more than a dozen female inmates. After his arrest, Rodriguez was charged with 96 criminal counts, including multiple instances of sexual assault and misconduct. These charges included 39 individual sexual assaults, misconduct, and sexual battery. If convicted, he could have faced up to 300 years in prison, a sentence that reflected the severity of the crimes he was accused of committing. The allegations against Rodriguez were shocking, with some dating back to 2014, though most occurred within the last 2 years. The district attorney overseeing the case stated that if new allegations came forward, they would be thoroughly investigated to ensure justice was served. Rodriguez began his career with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation in 1995 and worked at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla since 2010. He retired in August 2022, shortly after being approached by internal affairs investigators who were looking into the allegations against him. At least 13 victims had been identified, and authorities provided resources for mental health support to help them cope with the trauma they experienced. Rodriguez's bail was set at $7.8 million, reflecting the seriousness of the charges against him. Our next case reveals a disturbing trend of guards succumbing to feminine allure and breaking the law. Chloe Jones. She was a prison guard. He was an escaped criminal. Together, they created a story no one could forget. Chloe Jones worked as a guard at HMP Alt Course, a prison located in Liverpool, UK, where she first encountered Philip King, a prisoner serving time for burglary and theft. Despite the circumstances, the two quickly developed a romantic relationship, exchanging an astounding 3,000 texts within just 46 days. Their communication was facilitated through illegal contraband phones, which they used to bypass prison regulations. Eventually, Philip King managed to escape from prison, and Chloe, deeply involved in their relationship, chose to hide him at her own home. She even went as far as lying directly to the police during their search for Philip, helping him evade capture for a time. Meanwhile, Philip continued committing burglaries while on the run. After a period of evading authorities, Philip was eventually apprehended and returned to prison. During subsequent interrogations, Chloe Jones confessed to having been harboring Philip at her residence the entire time. As a result of his escape and further criminal actions, Philip had an additional 2.5 years added to his original sentence. Meanwhile, Chloe was sentenced to 18 months in prison for her role in assisting him. But Chloe and Philip's case was just the tip of the iceberg. An even more shocking scandal was brewing in a Florida prison, one that would expose the corruption and abuse within the system. Tina Gonzalez. A secret affair with an inmate had serious consequences for Tina Gonzalez. The former corrections officer found herself on the other side of the bars. She was sentenced after engaging in inappropriate acts with the inmate in front of 11 others, betraying the trust she was sworn to uphold. Her actions not only damaged her own integrity, but also put the safety of her colleagues at risk. As a prison guard, Gonzalez used her position to smuggle dangerous items like razors and weapons to her lovers, and even warn them about upcoming searches. Her behavior endangered everyone in the prison, but she didn't expect her actions to catch up with her. After a tip-off, an investigation uncovered everything, leaving the prison community stunned. Her former boss, Assistant Sheriff Steve McComas, said he was shocked, having never expected such a betrayal in his long career. Despite her arrest, Gonzalez continued to contact her inmate lover, showing no remorse. When facing charges for her actions, including sexual activity with an inmate and smuggling drugs and a cell phone into the facility, Gonzalez tried to blame her actions on her recent divorce, claiming emotional vulnerability. However, her excuses didn't convince anyone. In the end, she was given a lighter sentence of 2 years probation and 7 months in county jail, thanks to her early guilty plea and clean record. Kimberly Hacker. Kimberly Hacker's case stands out as one of the most shocking prison-related scandals in history. This Floridian has been in and out of prison for a wide range of offenses, but it was her 2013 time at the correctional institution that grabbed the most attention. While serving a sentence for theft, Kimberly was already pregnant and gave birth to her son behind bars. After being released in 2014, Kimberly found herself in an even more surprising situation, pregnant again, with no clear idea of who the father could be. It quickly became apparent that she had conceived while still incarcerated, sparking a major scandal. The drama escalated when Kimberly accused a prison guard of being the father. Things took another twist when she revealed that she had been involved with 3 guards while in prison, who allegedly bribed her with cigarettes and other banned substances in exchange for sexual favors. This exposed the dangerous power dynamics and abuse within the prison system. Kimberly's case soon became a guessing game. She initially claimed that one guard was the father because the baby resembled him, but a paternity test ruled him out. That left 2 other guards as possible candidates, keeping everyone in suspense and fueling the scandal. But the drama didn't end there. After being sent back to prison for another offense, Kimberly's chaotic life and ongoing pregnancies led authorities to label her an unfit mother. Tragically, her child was put up for adoption, adding yet another scandal to her already infamous story. Kimberly's saga offers a chilling glimpse into the exploitation, manipulation, and scandal that can take place behind prison walls. Just when you think things can't get any darker, the unsettling case involving the next guard and inmate makes its way to the headlines. Nancy Gonzalez. Behind the iron bars of the infamous Metropolitan Detention Center, a secret romance began, one that would make headlines and cost a prison guard her freedom. Nancy Gonzalez was a prison guard assigned to death row at the notorious Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. It was there that she encountered Ronell Wilson, a man sentenced to death for the brutal killings of two undercover police officers during a botched weapons sting. As she interacted with him behind bars, Nancy and Ronell struck up a conversation, and over time, they developed a romantic relationship. Despite the obvious dangers, Nancy became deeply committed to trying to keep Ronell alive and even worked tirelessly to delay his execution, hoping to buy them more time together. However, in 2013, their secret relationship was exposed, and Nancy's personal life became public knowledge. During this time, she became pregnant and gave birth to Ronell's child, whom they named Justice, an ironic yet meaningful choice given the circumstances surrounding their lives. As a result of their illicit relationship, Nancy Gonzalez was arrested and subsequently sentenced to 1 year in prison. Ronell Wilson, however, did not face any additional punishment, as he was already on death row and had no further legal consequences to endure. Next, let's look at a grandmother and former prison officer who was head over heels in love with convict. Allison Sharles. Now, meet Allison Sharles, a devoted grandmother and former prison officer who found herself entangled in a forbidden romance with Marvin Berkeley, a convicted kidnapper and gangster. Her love for him knew no bounds. She was so smitten that she attempted to smuggle his sperm out of prison in a desperate bid to get pregnant. But her secret plan was foiled when a syringe containing his semen was discovered in her handbag during a routine search. And if that wasn't embarrassing enough, a letter from Berkeley was found hidden in her underwear drawer at home. Sharple's actions landed her in hot water, and she was convicted of misconduct in public office. The judge sentenced her to 9 months in prison, citing the dangers of inappropriate relationships between staff and prisoners. As the trial unfolded, it became clear that Sharples was utterly besotted with Berkeley. She dreamed of having a chocolate baby with him and was even jealous of his glamorous girlfriend, Dee Dee, who would visit him in prison looking stylish. But the judge wasn't swayed by Sharples's love-struck confession. Instead, he handed down a deterrent sentence to send a clear message: zero tolerance for illicit relationships between prison staff and inmates. As Sharples was led away in handcuffs, her daughter stood by her, declaring her love for her mother in the courtroom. Meanwhile, Berkeley escaped charges related to their romance, and his current whereabouts remain unknown. Subscribers pick. In this image, it's said that the officer had an affair with one, maybe even two, of the women. What started as a secret relationship seems to have taken a bad turn. The women appear to have teamed up, possibly out of revenge or feeling betrayed, and are now plotting to set him up. The officer is lying on the ground, totally unaware of what's coming. What do you think went down here? Was he set up, or did his actions lead to this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Caleb Shane Hopkins. A hidden relationship between a prison guard and an inmate led to a scandal that rocked the justice system. In 2017, a bombshell dropped at Tennessee's Moore County Jail. Inmate Jessica Fowler was pregnant, and the father was none other than Caleb Shane Hopkins, the prison guard supposed to be keeping her safe. This secret sparked a firestorm of controversy. Fowler claimed the sexual intimacy was non-consensual and that Hopkins coerced her into the relationship. She said Hopkins would sneak into the prison library at night, bribing her with cigarettes and prescription drugs to keep their affair hidden. Fowler's lawyer argued that his client, a self-proclaimed lesbian, couldn't have consented to sleeping with Hopkins. At first, they only had non-penetrative intercourse, but Hopkins allegedly pressured Fowler into more intimate acts. When she requested a condom, Hopkins carelessly responded that married men don't buy condoms. Fowler confessed to having intercourse with Hopkins 4 times before getting pregnant. As the scandal unfolded, Fowler was moved to another prison, losing her hard-earned jail credits and a chance at early release. She gave birth to the baby in her new facility, while Hopkins faced arrest and the consequences of his actions. This shocking story raised tough questions about power, consent, and the murky world of prison relationships. How could something like this happen? And what does it say about the people in charge? As more secrets come out, another surprising story appears. This time, it's about a prison guard and a prisoner with a bad history. Lauren McIntyre. In a story that sounds like a thriller, a prison guard becomes the latest victim of an inmate's clever manipulation. In this sad case showing problems in the prison system, 32-year-old prison guard Lauren McIntyre became a victim of an inmate's lies. McIntyre started a relationship with Andrew Roberts, a man serving a life sentence for killing his girlfriend, Louise Lom, and their 10-month-old daughter, Tia, in 2003. Even though she knew he had a violent past, McIntyre began an affair with him in 2018 while he was in prison on the Isle of Wight. Their relationship caused big problems. McIntyre, knowing that Roberts wanted to hurt another officer she had been involved with, gave him that officer's phone number. She allowed Roberts to attack the officer, leaving them with head injuries. In court, Lauren was charged with misconduct. The prosecutor presented disturbing evidence of McIntyre's involvement with Roberts, including text messages where McIntyre made suggestive remarks. Her lawyer argued that she had tried to get information but was tricked by Roberts. The judge, however, said her actions were wrong. She went from gaining Roberts' trust to forming a close relationship with him, passing on information, and getting involved in a sexual affair. Lauren was sentenced to 3 years in prison for what she did. Rachel Wilson. A shocking video surfaced in the summer of 2021 at Addywell Prison in West Lothian, Scotland. The video showed a female prison officer, Rachel Wilson, in a passionate kiss with an inmate, Kevin Hogg. Rachel had only been working at the prison since the spring of that year. Little did she know that her brief time on the job would end in a scandal that would make headlines. Kevin Hogg was an inmate serving a 3-year sentence for traffic offenses. He would end up at the center of this controversy. But how did this shocking incident unfold? The incident took place in Hogg's modern, white-walled cell. A 79-second clip begins with Hogg placing a mobile phone on a shelf facing the door. This was a clear sign that his actions were pre-planned. With the camera in place, Hogg walks around for a few seconds before stopping to take a drink of water. He seems to be preparing for what is about to happen. A few seconds later, Rachel Wilson appears at the cell door. The two exchange whispers before Hogg grabs Wilson and pulls her in for a kiss. The kiss lasts only a few seconds, but its impact is huge. After the kiss, Wilson leaves the cell, and Hogg stops recording. The video quickly spread among inmates and staff, reaching as far as Barlinnie Prison in Glasgow. As the footage continued to make the rounds, speculations ran wild. Was Rachel Wilson being blackmailed, or was this a consensual act? Could it be that Kevin Hogg had coerced her into the kiss and was holding the footage over her head? At first, the theory that Hogg recorded the video to blackmail Wilson seemed very likely. The way he set up the phone and recorded the kiss made it look like he had a plan. But as the video spread, it became clear that there was more to the story. If Hogg was trying to blackmail Wilson, he wouldn't have let the video spread like wildfire. Instead, he would have held on to it and used it to make her do his bidding. The way things turned out was proof that he had other intentions. He had recorded the kiss for bragging rights. Hogg wanted to show off to the other inmates that he could get a prison officer to kiss him. The video itself provided important clues to support this new theory. Wilson's body language and lack of resistance indicated that she was a willing participant. If she had been coerced, she would have pressed her panic button, but she didn't. In situations of blackmail, the victim usually shows signs of distress or fear. Wilson's behavior in the video doesn't suggest that she was under duress. This points to a consensual act rather than coercion. As the investigation progressed, the theory of blackmail continued to crumble. The evidence pointed towards a different narrative, one of poor judgment and a lapse in professional conduct. While the investigation was ongoing, Rachel was relieved of her duties. However, it is unclear whether or not charges were brought against her. As one prison scandal comes to an end, another surprising tale of forbidden love is just beginning. Here's what happened. Keran Stevens. Their secret affair was already explosive, but the real shock came when Keran's hidden pregnancy was uncovered, leading to the birth of a daughter. In a scandalous turn of events, prison officer Keran Stevens got caught up in a forbidden relationship with convicted murderer Louis Tate while working at HMP Swaleside. What started as casual interactions quickly turned into a secret affair, with hidden meetings and private conversations made possible by smuggled phones. Despite the prison walls, their connection grew stronger with every secret text and phone call. But like most secrets, theirs eventually came to light. When Tate was transferred to another prison, rumors about his affair with Keran started circulating. An overheard comment led to an investigation, and soon, a hidden iPhone 6 was found in Tate's cell, used for their private communications. On the 8th of January 2019, Keran arrived at work, unaware that her secrets were about to be exposed. After being arrested, she revealed that she was 3 months pregnant with Tate's child. This was confirmed by entries in her personal diary, which detailed an ultrasound from the previous month and a conception date that matched the timeline of their affair. By June of 2019, Keran gave birth to a daughter, and DNA tests confirmed that Tate was the father. As the truth came out, Keran stood in Maidstone Crown Court, admitting to misconduct in a public office and unauthorized phone use. Her life was forever changed by the consequences of her choices. Tate also faced charges for using a phone without permission, adding to his already lengthy criminal record. During the court proceedings, Keran broke down in tears as the judge handed down a 16-month sentence, but with a 2-year suspension, taking into account her young child and the extraordinary circumstances. Prosecutor Maria Carrascos presented evidence of more than 50 phone calls and 20 text messages between Keran and Tate in October of 2018. The night before Tate's transfer, their communication had reached a peak, with Keran making 25 calls and sending 5 texts. Tate initially denied knowing Keran, but later admitted to the affair. The court also heard that Keran had been in contact with Tate's brother and used the phone to reach other people outside the prison. Keran's defense lawyer argued that she had been struggling with a past abusive relationship, addiction, and self-harm, but that becoming a mother had changed her life. She admitted her mistakes, acknowledging that she had acted immaturely and foolishly. This case revealed the complicated and sometimes inappropriate relationships that can form between prison guards and inmates, showing just how easily the lines between duty and personal desire can blur behind bars. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.